Okay, lecture 2 is separation of variables. Then this is the first somewhat form of a differential equation, and then this is the simplest because we only need to separate x and y. So variables x and y can be separated, so therefore we can somewhat group them together. So if we have function x, we will group it, or we will pair it with dx. Then f of y will be paired with dy. So nana na siya ka simple. Then ang form of differential equation in the first, remember we are in the first order DE. So ang form sa first order DE kay kaning equation number 1. So the function contains derivative of y with respect to x, then also involves x and then y, which is equated to 0. Then equation 2, so from this equation, say for example we have dy over dx is equals to x. So from this form, we'll make it into the form of equation number 2. So equation number 2 kani ang m of x and y diri sabot ana m is a function of both the variables x and y, then na dx diri then ang n pod is also the same with n, which is n is a function of x and y, then na dy diri. So from this, for example kani ang given, ato siyang himuong equation 2 para kumbaga standard to ang answer. Then the next, equation number 3 kani, so di ba ang main purpose sa separation of variables kay ato ay separate ang value sa x or ang variables x ang y. So dapat ang mabilin diri as nakauban sa dx kay function of x alone, and ang mabilin sa kauban sa dy kay function of y alone, then equated to 0. Okay? So, ang separation of variables, not all differential equations are variable separable, or the variables can be separated. So, naalay certain cases na pwede ma-separate ang variables. Okay, so equation number 3 is the standard form of the first ordered ODE with variables separable. Okay, so we have two examples here. Atong i-check if separable ba ning number 1 kani o kaning separable ba ning ikaduha na example. So ato na siyang i-divide. Okay, so for the first example, diba ang first ato buhaton ato siyang himuong equation number 2. So therefore, ato ning gamitan og algebraic manipulation para mahimo siyang equation number 2 yang form. So itong buhaton una pwede na to siya multiply both sides by dx. So this now becomes dy is equals to x y dx. Then pwede na to siya i-flip, kumbaga mo siya inani. Dapat unahon na to ang dx. So may mo siyang xy dx is equals to dy. Di ba pareha ra man na siya, ato lang gibaylo ang components. The next thing, hapit na siya may mong equation 2. Ito ang sunod na buhaton, kay kaning dy, ito siya ibalin sa left side sa equation. So pag ibalin na ito na siya, may yang sign, mabaliktad or mulahi yang sign. So positive man siya, may mong negative. This is now xy dx minus dy is equals to 0. So this is now in the form similar to equation number 2. So kumbaga mao man itong m, mao ni ato ang y dira. Ang n nato dira, which is ang invisible value or ang negative 1 na kauban sa dy. Okay? So therefore, we can conclude that this is a variable separable type of differential equation. Wala pa day. So since kauban pa man ni ang x and y, then di ba dapat x lang ang naa sa dy niya, dx, then dapat y lang po ang naa sa dy. So ato ang pangitag pamaagi nahawaon na to ning y dire. So ang first na maisip kay divide both sides or multiply both sides by the reciprocal of y, which is 1 over y. So therefore, this equation now becomes xy, wala na y dahil, x dx minus dy over y is equals to 0. Okay? So since the variables are now paired up with its corresponding differential, which is dx and dy, so we can now solve this using integral. So we can integrate this part, and then also integrate. So integrate na to all the terms in the equation. So therefore, can conclude that this is a variable separable type of differential equation. Okay? Okay, so for the next example, kani, dy over dx is equals to x plus y. So first thing to do is make this in the form in equation number 2. So first thing to do is multiply both sides by dx. So this now becomes dy is equals to open parenthesis x plus y times dx. Okay, next is kumbaga murag i-flip siya or ato lang i-visualize na mag-flip kay necessary naman siya. So mura siya og naimong x plus y dx negative dy na siya is equal to 0. So I hope na kabalo naman na. Okay? Next thing to do, this is now in the equation number 2. So next thing to do is we'll try to manipulate this equation to make this in the form of equation number 3. So dapat x dx kauban, dan ang y dy kauban. Pero ang problema ani bisag unsa na to og bisag unsa ibuhaton na to sa equation, dili ni ma-separate ang x and y kay tungod aning plus man siya dra. So for example no, kung ato siya i-divide both sides by example lang by x plus y, so mahimo na siyang dx minus dy over x plus y 0. Pero problema ani wala gyud po na separate ang x and y. So therefore we can conclude that this is not a variable separable equation. So once again, number 1 is a variable separable equation. Then number 2 is a variable separable equation. Okay? So kanilang siya ato lang ipakita kung unsa ang mga unsang button para makabalot ta kung separable ba or dili. So sa ubos kaning tong button diri So example, diri na ta sugod na ta sa example jud mismo sa pagkuha sa solution of a variable separable DE. So we are going to find the solution of the following DEs. Okay? So number 1, the example number 1 is dy over dx is equals to 2xy. Then this has an initial condition, which is y is equals to 2 if x is equals to 0. Okay, so therefore, since we are given a condition, therefore we are going to find the particular solution, not the general solution, but the particular solution. Okay, so first thing to do, make it in the form like in equation number 2. So this multiply both sides by dx. So now becomes dy is equals to 2xy dx. Then this becomes transpose ni padulong diri sa pikas, may mo ning 2xy dx minus dy is equals to 0. So this is now in the equation number 2. Next thing to do is separate the variables. So kaning x and y, napaman siya y diya. Ato ang hawaon ng y. So to do that, we must multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of y, which is 1 over y. So this now becomes 2x dx minus dy over y is equals to 0. Okay? So since the variables are now separated and paired up with its corresponding differentials, we can now integrate all the terms in the equation. So the integral of, ang pag-integrate yan nila ilahi ni. So kaniya to integrate, murag individually ang pag-integrate pero as one yapon ang answer. So kani integrate sunod kani sunod kani. Syempre necessary yapon na integrate ang 0. So the integral of 2x or the integral of x dx is just 2x squared over 2. Then minus integral of dy over y is ln y. Then integral of 0 is just c. Simplify, makancel ni. So now becomes x squared minus ln y is equals to c. So kumbaga, kung wala tagyatagaan o kaning kung wala tagyatagaan ani na condition, mao na ni atong answer. Kani siya mao na atong answer kung wala tagyatagag condition. Pero since gitagaan man tag condition, mao ra ni ang general solution. So dili pa ni mao ang atong ginapangita na solution. So remember, ang particular solution walay arbitrary constant. So atuan lang less than og exact value or na kanang number jud, dili lang kanang some constant na unknown. Okay? So para makuha ang value sa C, ato ang ipang-insert ang values sa given na condition. So y is equals to 2 and then x is equals to 0. Pero naka-ln man siya, dapat atuwas ang hawaon ng ln. So pwede na ito siya gamitan og katong properties of logarithms. So atuwasan na i-transpose atong ipalahi. So this is x squared is equals to c plus ln y, diba? Then kani pwede na ito siya ibalin ang c, butang na ito sa left side sa equation. Pero ang nakalian lang aning c kay pag ibalin na ito siya, positive gyapon iyang value kay tungod kay wala man ta kabalo sa value, di ba? Sa arbitrary constant man siya. So bisag kung saan yung balin-balin na, always gyapon positive iyang kuan. Ana lang nato ang murag i-stick sa mind. Always siya positive bisag asa siya padulong sa or bisag asa siya na part or side sa equation. Okay? So next is atong ingon ako na property of logarithm. So kamo na bala og review ato. Pwede na ito ni mahimong e raised to x squared plus c. Ang isa kay e raised to ln y para mawala ang ln dra. So this now becomes y na lang ni. Kani e raised to x squared plus c. Pero kaning left side sa equation kani masimplify pa na siya. 'Di ba? Kung atuan ni siyang i-reverse, 'di ba? Kung nag-plus gani ang exponents, pasabot ana gi-multiply ang base, 'di ba? So therefore murag nakabutang diya na e raised to x squared multiplied by e raised to c is equals to y. 'Di ba? Kay kung multiply nato ning e diri ma-plus ang iyang exponents. Okay? Or ato ang since constant man ang e raised to c, ito siyang kambiyon. So e raised to c multiplied by e raised to x squared is equals to y. Then since e raised to c is just another constant, therefore we can make this, or we can let e raised to c just equal to c sub 1. Di ba kay constant man gyapon. So kung saan mo kuan na constant gyapon niya unknown. So imo na lang natong new constant na C sub 1 para mas simple siya tanawon kumpara ni E sub C. Pero kanina concept dili siya ma-apply sa, say for example, natay si X, dili ta pwede na mahimo ni siyang C sub 1 because na siya variable diri ah. So naga-vary iyang value compared sa kaning E raised to C, di ba? Ang E kay kuan man na siya kanang constant man na siya katong 2 point something something. So pwede ra siya mahimong new C. Okay? So atong tawag na C sub 1. So therefore, kani mahimo na lang ni C sub 1 times E raised to X squared is equals to Y. Okay? So almost done. Ato lang i-plug in ang mga values sa X and Y. So, di ba ang value sa Y is equals to 2 and ang value sa X is equals to 0. So therefore, C sub 1 E raised to X, which is 0, X squared is equals to Y, which is 2. So since E raised to 0 is 1, may mo na ng C sub 1 is equals to 2. So kumbaga na natay value sa C sub 1. So kani ma-insert na nato diri ah. So C sub 1 is 2, so therefore 2e raised to X squared is equals to Y. Mao ni ang atuang ginapangita na solution, or this is now the particular solution without arbitrary constants, because this is once again a particular solution. Then this is also the solution that we are looking for. Okay? Then sa differential equations na tayo duha ka solution. First is explicit, so manang first. Then second is implicit na solution. Pag explicit gani ang ginaingon, ato ang i-isolate ang Y. So parehaan ning example kani, this is an explicit solution because naka-separate ang Y, or not necessarily ng Y, kundi ang dependent variable. So in this case, dependent variable man ang Y, so ito ang separate sa lain. Tapos kung implicit pod na solution, as is lang ang equation. So for example lang nga, ato ang nakita na answer is ano ni? Pwede na rin answer kung implicit ang ginapangita. Pero kung explicit gani ang ginapangita, kaning kung atuan ni siyang imong explicit, mahimo ni siyang, di ba, ang Y diri assume na to ang mao na ang dependent variable. So ato i-isolate ang Y. So this is now Y is equals to C over X. So mao na ni ang explicit na equation, and then mao ni ang implicit equation. Okay? So natay mga examples na niya. Okay, so proceed ta sa next example, number 2. Okay, so example number 2, nagyapon siya initial condition. So pangitaon gyapon nato ang particular solution. So mo na yung example number 2, x y prime plus 3y is equals to 0. So y prime is just dy over dx plus 3y is equal to 0. Then next thing to do is multiply both sides by dx. Ato siya imong equation 2. This is x dy plus 3y dx is equals to 0. So equation number 2 na siya yung form. Next is atuang ipang pair up ang x sa dx, then ang y sa dy. So to do that, we multiply both sides by the atuang tanggalon ng x diri. Multiply both sides by its reciprocal, which is 1 over x. So this now becomes dy plus 3y dx over x is equals to 0. Next is, since na po may y dira, ito nang hawaon by multiplying both sides to the reciprocal of y, which is 1 over y. This is just dy over y plus 3dx over x is equals to 0. Okay, so since the variables are now separated and then paired with its corresponding differential, we can now integrate all the terms in this equation. So integrate this, and then integrate 0. So the integral of dy over y is ln y plus 3 integral of dx over x is ln x. Then integral of 0 is c. So this is the general solution. Then kani siya implicit ni siya na answer because wala na separate ang wala na isolate ang y, which is the dependent variable. Okay? Since gitagaan mo tag condition, ataw pa na siyang pangitao lang bali sa c. Okay, so gamit na po og property of logarithms, kani siya copy lang sa ani. Then kaning 3 diri up, pwede ni siya may mong exponent dira. So may mo ni siyang ln so dapat plus plus ln x cubed na is equals to c. Then napo to isa ka property sa logarithm na kung plus ang duha ka same na base, pwede ma-multiply ang sa sulod kaning y and x raised to 3. So may mo ni siyang ln y times x raised to 3 is equals to c. So kamo na ibala og recall ato. The next thing to do, ato ang hawaon ang ln ra. Do that, kani tanan kani og kani himuon na to siyang exponent sa base na e raised to ln y x cubed is equals to e raised to c. Mawala ang e, mawala ang ln. So may mabilin y x cubed is equals to, since constant lang mangyapon ni, pwede na siya may mong c sub 1. Okay? Next, since ang value sa y is equals to negative 3, dahil ang value sa x is 1, ato lang i-plug in ang mga values. So kaning y dire may mong negative 3, ang x may mong 1. So this is negative 3 multiplied by 1 raised to 3 is equals to c sub 1. Okay, so c sub 1 is just negative 3. Since we now have the value of c sub 1, we can substitute this to c sub 1 right here. So the particular solution of the given dE is just yx raised to 3 is equals to negative 3. Okay? Okay, so for example, nag-quiz ta. Then, giingon ako na dapat explicit ang solution. So kung inana gani, if explicit ang solution or if the solution is explicit from gani, ito lang i-divide both sides by x raised to negative 3 x raised to 3. May mo ning y is equals to negative 3 over x cube. So mo na ni ang explicit na solution. Then kaning tuang solve kaniya mao ni ang implicit na solution. Okay? So depende na sa kung saan required. Okay? So let's proceed with example number 3. Okay, so example number 3, e raised to x multiplied by e raised to y multiplied by dx minus e raised to negative 2y multiplied by dy is equal to 0. So, example number 3, wala siya gihatag na condition. So, therefore, ato lang pangitaon na solution kay katong general solution, katong na arbitrary constant. Okay, so first thing to do here is separate the variables. So, di ba, mura naman na siya og equation number 2. So, sunod na lang buhaton, separate ang variables. So, dapat mawala ning naadria y. Mabilin dapat ning e raised to x of dx. Do that, multiply both sides by the reciprocal of e raised to y. So, now becomes e raised to x dx minus e raised to negative 2y over e raised to y dy is equal to 0. Then simplify this part. This now becomes e raised to negative 3y dy is equals to 0. Okay, so since the variables are separated, we can integrate all the terms in the equation. So, dali naman yung pag-integrate, di ba? So, integral of e raised to x is itself. Kani, dali lang yapon, pero natay gamiton katong u sub. So, itong i-let u equal to kani negative 3y, then du is negative 3 dy. So, since dy laman ang nadriya, then wala yung negative 3, itong buhaton na divide both sides by negative 3. So, negative 1/3 na nadara. Kaning negative 3 dira, mawala na. So, dy na lang mabilin. Okay? Copy lang ang kaning first. Then, minus the integral of e raised to negative 3y multiplied by dy, which is negative 1/3 du is equals to integral of 0. Okay, simplify na po natin eh. E raised to x dx minus integral of e raised to negative 3y times negative 1/3 is just negative 1/3 e raised to negative 3y, and du is equals to the integral of 0. So, kani negative man siya dria o negative po siya draa. Kumbaga, may mo na yung positive ang symbol diri. Okay? Then, diri na ito mag-integrate. So, dapat kuha ni terms of u. Sorry, dapat u na siya dra, u po na dra. Okay, so integral of e raised to x is just e raised to x. Then integral of this is 1/3 e raised to u. Then kani c lang na. So next is, since u pa man dapat ibalik na siya sa original na variable, which is y. So, e raised to x plus 1/3 e raised to u, which is negative 3y is equals to c. Okay, so this is now the solution. But this is the implicit solution. Kung pangitaw na itong explicit, lisod siya, pero magamitan siya og katong property of logarithms. So, di lang natin ipakita diri. So, ato pag mag-quiz kay ako lang iingon kung explicit ba ang pangitaon na solution or implicit ba na ang pangitaon. Kung wala kayo nakabutang, sabot na as is lang. Kung for example, kanina mo nakuha, kana na mo na answer. Pero kung na naka-state na implicit, dapat mas separate, or implicit or explicit, dapat mas separate ang the dependent variable. Okay, so example number 4. X cosine squared y dx plus tan y dy is equals to 0. So next is separate the variables. So ano to na? Para mahawa na, may multiplied by its reciprocal. So this is now x dx then plus tan y over cosine squared y dy is equals to 0. Okay, so now they are separated. We can integrate this, and then also this. So the integral of this is very simple, but the integral of this also simple, pero natay gamitan na to og trigonometric identities. So kopyahan na to ang first term. Diba ang tan y is sin y over cosine y. So pwede na to siya may himuong sin y over cosine y, then over cosine squared y dy is equals to integral of 0. Next, nabuhaton kan di mababa na siya. Ma-multiply siya sa ubos. May mo ning sin na lang nasa taas, sin y over cosine squared multiplied by cosine is just cosine cube y dy is equals to integral of 0. Okay, so next is pwede na to masaka ang kaning nadala sa ubos, pero ma-negative yung exponent. So inani na. Ito siyang isaka para mas dali masabtan. Okay, so once again, sayo na yun yan na i-integrate. Kani, ma-integrate din siya gamit ang let u. So ito ang a, let, dapat cosine atong let cosine y equal to let u then let u equal to cosine y, then du or the derivative of u respect to y is just sin y dy. So since sin y dy na po sin y dy dira as is na. Okay, since na tayo value sa u, na po tayo value sa du, proceed na ta sa substitution. So sin y dy is just du, and cosine y kani is just u. So therefore this is just u raised to negative 3, then du is equals to 0 or integral of 0. Okay, so integrate na natin yung first term. This is just x squared over 2 plus, diba, u raised to negative 3 plus 1 mana over negative 3 plus 1 is equals to c. Simplify. So may mo na ng negative ang sign dili, and then u is raised to negative 2 over 2. So na negative siya kay ang answer ani is just equal to negative 2. So ang negative 2 ibalik na to diri. Okay. Okay, so since napaman siya sa u, balik na to ang original value. This is just, ang u na to is cosine y, so this is just minus cosine negative raised to negative 2y over 2 is equals to c. So this is not the answer, but we are going to simplify it further. Diba naman siya divide by 2 on both sides. So itong buhaton ato nang ngawaon para wala tayo fractions. So this is just multiplying. This is done by multiplying both sides by 2. Okay, so this now becomes x squared minus cosine raised to negative 2y is equals to 2c. Then remember, 2 and c are constants, so we can merge them together. So this now becomes c sub 1 lang. So this is now x squared minus cosine raised to negative 2y is equals to c sub 1. So this is once again an implicit solution because the y is not, or the dependent variable y is not separated or not isolated. Okay, so kanay pwede na na answer. Okay, so last example, for separation of variables, we have y dx minus 4 dy is equals to x squared dy. So atong ibalhin ni sa left side sa equation. This is now y dx minus 4 dy minus x squared dy is equals to 0. Okay, so ang sunod na ito buhaton na mo na ito siyang equation number 2, di ba? Since dy na dy dira na apoy dy dira, pwede na ito siya i-factor out. This now becomes plus negative 4 minus x squared, yan, dy. Okay? So, pwede pa gyapon natin siya simplify kay, di ba, libog mo sa tanawon na negatives. Pwede na ito i-factor out ang negative. So, mahimo na ning y dy minus na 4 nya plus x squared dy is equals to 0. Di ba? Factor out na itong negative, mahimo na ning positive dra. Mahimo na ning positive dra. Okay, so next thing, sorry, dapat din x. Next thing to do is separate the variables. So dapat wala ning x diri y, dapat wala po ning x diri. Okay, so to do that, ito isa-isahon. First, we will get rid of y. So multiply both sides by 1 over y. This is just dx minus 4 plus x squared dy is equals to 0, divided by y. Okay? Next is, hawaon na ito ning na ix dira. So, to do that, just simply multiply by its reciprocal. So, 1 over 4 plus x squared. So, 1 over 4 plus x squared multiplied by dx is just dx over 4 plus x squared. Minus, makancel ang kani o kani. May mo lang dy over y is equals to 0. Then we can now integrate all the terms because they are separated. So the integral of dx over 4 plus x squared, kuha lang ning i-shortcut. Tinagian naman nato ni sa integral. This is just arc tan. This is just 1/2 multiplied by arc tan of x over 2. Then integral of dy over y is just ln y. The integral of 0 is just c. So therefore, this is now the answer. Then, okay, so sa kanina last example, di ba, kuhan man siya implicit. So for example, pangitaon na to ang explicit. So para mapangita na mahimo ning yun na usa ba. So ato ang di ba, ato ang i-isolate ang gani ang y. So mahimo na ning 1/2 arc tan of x over 2. Yang c diri ay balhin nato diri yang y balhin nato diri Pero di ba kung magbalhin ta og arbitrary constant, yang symbol or sign dili mausab. Pwede siya plus c dira is equals to ln y. The next is ato siyang erase. Ato ang kani ug kani may mga exponent sa e, di ba? E ug e dira. So ang answer ni is just e raised to 1/2 arc tan x over 2 plus c is equals to e raised to ln y. So since pareha tong ganiya, gi-plus man ang duha ka exponents, therefore this is just e raised to c multiplied by e raised to 1/2 arc tan x over 2 is equals to kani e og ln makancel out, mabilin ang y. Since this is just a constant, becomes c sub 1. So this is just c sub 1 multiplied by e raised to 1/2 arc tan of x over 2 is equal to y. So this is the explicit solution. Okay.